Hey guys, right now I am I'm looking at my Stream Elements dashboard. There's a way to like turn it on. I gotta figure out what that is. As soon as I figure that one out, I will start like actually doing the stream and stuff. But I kind of feel like, what is happening there? I don't want you guys to have to watch me doing like a bunch of random maybe settings. Okay, it looks like it's there. Hey, Corwin, how are you? Hey, look. It works. Cool, cool. All right, so we have activated Streamlabs. All right. So I am going to transition us, and we're going to start things. If I don't trip first, goodness gracious. That was a thing. Alrighty, guys. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Welcome to the stream. Apologies for the late bit of the start. I just wanted to activate our chat bot because I had forgotten to do that in our last stream. So it is now active, it seems, and well, I mean, it says no, but you know, it seems to be working all right. Okay. So, welcome in, guys. Welcome in. I'm so happy to be here. I am still a little under the weather, and I don't know why. It's probably just because I cannot take a break. I cannot rest for anything for whatever reason. And so I just keep on keeping on, and maybe one day I'll crash, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. So over the past 2 weeks, we've been working on doing a set of hooks and shackles. And so we finished 2 hooks. We've got the hooks there. And then we started working on a shackle. I actually purchased the bolts that we are going to be using for the top of the shackles. I also purchased our threaded eye that goes into the anvil face. So really, once we finish our last shackle, the only thing that's preventing us from putting together this chain hold down is me trying to figure out how to attach the chain to itself. So we're getting there, we're working, and hopefully today we will finish this project. My goal is to create a second shackle and kind of fix this one up. It's a little bit wonky. It's not flat or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our second shackle. And then when we get to the point where we are bending that second shackle, I will put this in the forge as well. And we will bend them both so that they are even. So yeah, that is the plan for the day. So I need to keep this guy in the area, and then I got this guy to make our second shackle. Okie doke. So it looks like I got an ad starting in about 30 seconds, maybe any minute now, or you know, any second now. And so I'm hoping I can get the forge up and running before then. Let me do that real fast. Fingers crossed that it's not, that it delays just a little bit longer than its stupid timer. Okay. We have a lit forge. And the ad hasn't even started yet. Awesome. Okie doke. Now, let's see. I need some tongs because I put my tongs away for no reason. Is it on the floor? Oftentimes I leave them on the floor because they just fall there. I think we're all right with these guys, though. These are the right ones. So we're going to put this guy in the forge, heat it up. Okay, let me get some headphones on so I can hear myself and I don't have to scream as much. All right, there are those ads. It helps when you don't cough directly into your lav mic, right? So welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that we're in the middle of ads, and I think it's all right because I think most of the people that join us this early in the stream probably have a way to avoid the ads. So thank you all for joining me today. I'm hoping that you have been already having a great day, and if not, let's make it a great day in the smithy. All right. We got a set of ads that's going to be ending here shortly, and that's really amazing. My transmitter is not playing nice with my wallet, which is still in my pocket for whatever reason. So I'm going to have to mess with my pockets. There we go. Wallet, pocket, gone. There we go. As long as I don't forget it out here, I should be good to go, you know? It never fails. Occasionally, I will pull out my wallet, stick it on my AV cart, and then forget it's there. And so then I go out to, like, you know, buy some supplies or get food or whatever, and I don't have my wallet. So hopefully, I will remember that I put it on my AV cart. All right, cool. So, like I said, today I am still feeling a little bit under the weather, and you know, one of these days I hope that I can get to a point where I just don't feel as bad as I have been recently, and hopefully. The A-ball says no. That's really sad. All right, guys. Apologies for that stream drop. It looked like my internet just dropped out for half a second. Hopefully, we are back and things will be stable after this. So, fingers crossed. If we end up being ridiculously unstable, I will call the ISP and we'll see what we can have done. Theoretically, it's just a tiny little blip and it'll go away. We'll smooth it out and stuff. But it's looking like the stream itself did not drop, so we shouldn't get an extra ad or anything. So I guess that's probably good. I think, according to this, we're back up to 6K megabits per second. Per second? I don't know. So hopefully we even out and we just stay at the 6K megabits. Knock on wood and all that. Okay, so today is Wednesday, and that means it is new video day up on YouTube. So today's video is the video on making our eye hooks. And I know that we're not even really done with that project, but I just decided that we were gonna take a deep dive into the eye hook itself. I am planning on doing our other animal as the next video. So next Wednesday, that video will come out. And that will be on the horse. I think I'm going to skip our bottle opener that we made last month. It just didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, and I don't think it'll make an amazing video. So I think that one will just live in the VOD section of our YouTube channel. So after we finish the horse video, we will probably do the Shackles video. And that will probably not happen or be put up on YouTube until 3 weeks from now, I think. And the reason for that is because the first week after Quad State, or not Quad State, goodness gracious, I don't know what I'm doing these days. The first week after BAM will be the first BAM video, I believe. So that's the goal anyway. We'll see if I can edit the video fast enough. So yeah, today we are going to continue making our second shackle. We have our first shackle not necessarily done, but it is formed into a shackle-like form, and it needs a little bit of some finessing, and we will do that, but probably later on in the stream. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is creating this central U-shape area. We're going to be creating it as a straight, and we will curve it at the end of the process, just so that we can continue using the mailbox for the whole process. It gets it a little bit hotter, and we can work a lot faster with it. So that is the goal there. So I believe we're probably gonna start off on using the press. Hey Shelly, welcome to the stream. So I'm gonna unplug the refrigerator and plug in the press. I haven't moved the fridge yet because we're still working on the interior of the van, and I didn't really want it taking up space just yet until after we've got the swivel seat in. So yesterday we were working on the van again, and we finally figured out how to make the inverter work correctly. I don't necessarily know it's an actual inverter, but it does charge our battery pack off of the alternator. So as long as we are moving and that alternator is charging our car or our van battery, it is also charging our battery pack. So that's really exciting. That means that we're going to be able to charge it in 1 hour as opposed to 8 hours. So we've got 1,000 watts of power. It's providing about 600 watts, or I guess volts of charge as we go. So it should charge it pretty darn fast. And I'm super excited about that because that means that we're going to be able to recharge the battery, and because the battery only lasts about 1 day. So if we can charge it in an hour, then we can continue, out in the field for quite some time after we have depleted the battery the first time. If we don't have shore power, that is. See, at BAM, we will have some shore power. Most of the time at the conferences, there are campgrounds that allow us to use shore power, but there are a few places that I don't know that we'll be able to get some shore power. Like, I'm planning on going to the Memphis Metals Museum, either spring or fall of this year, and I cannot use the, they don't have shore power for me to use, so if I want to stay more than 1 day, I need to be able to recharge it relatively easily. Hey Mahalo, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so we've got some heat, not a lot of heat, but some heat. Okay, I've got a functional air compressor, and the press is working. Ooh, I got the chills. I don't know why. It's like 70-ish degrees today, so I don't know why I got the chills. I don't know, maybe there's like a little breeze coming in from the window or something. Alrighty. Let's see. Let's do our. Oh, it is Earth Day. Happy day. I like the tree pic you posted. Yeah. Today is apparently Earth Day, and on Earth Day, the whole thing is you plant trees, right? So we did not plant that tree today. We planted it a couple of weeks ago, probably a week before we planted the seedlings in the garden, and it's doing pretty decently. It's been storming quite a bit, so there's plenty of water for it to drink up. But we were a little bit concerned with all of the wind. So, oh, Arbor Day is on Friday. They go together. Okay, okay. So is Earth Day about recycling and then Arbor Day is about planting trees? I think we only really celebrated one when I was in school. So I don't know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like I said, they only really uh celebrated one of the days, like Earth Day was what they were, you know, what we celebrated when I was in grade school. And every year we would plant a new tree. The entire school would leave class and we'd plant this tree and have a big old ceremony. It was really cool. So yeah, we ended up losing a few trees 2 years ago, because they were really sick and we knew it, but eventually like a storm knocked one down, and so we ended up getting rid of another two. So we definitely need more trees for some shade. Right now, our yard is just like full blast sun. There's no shade back there, so we're starting to try and plant a few trees here and there. So this one is, I think it is no, it's not a dogwood tree. I insisted on not getting a dogwood tree because dogwoods, they flower every year and they smell rancid. So I can't remember what this one is. It is a shade tree though. It's the healthiest one that was on the lot. So I worked at Lowe's for a while during the spring season, and I saw so many trees that people would buy, and they just didn't have any leaves on them. So they ended up having to take them back because Lowe's has a 1 year guarantee, and all of their trees kept dying. I'm like, you got to be careful which one you buy. You can't plant the ones that don't have leaves. You got to have the leaves or they'll die. So, and it is very sad when your tree dies. So, okay, I'm gonna move the camera over here because I initially set it up thinking that I was going to do the bending initially, but I think I want to do all of the bending at once. So I think this is what we're going to do. We are going to change the camera view. Apologies for having to set it up. Let's see. Okay. Let's do this. Triple the work planting a dead tree. I know, you gotta dig up the yard, and then you plant it, you water it and stuff, and then you gotta re-dig it up later because it's dead. Better to get a living tree. Okie doke. So I am using the press today because I just don't feel like I have quite enough breadth to be able to draw down in the full width of this piece that we need. So I'm going to use the press to kind of give myself a little bit of breathing room, literally. And yeah, so we don't use the press a lot. A lot of times I just draw things out over the horn. It's sometimes it's faster, but it does take a lot more stamina. So I'm not going to be able to stream quite as long if I were to do it by hand. So we're going to use the tools that are available. So the goal is to create a shackle that we can thread through the eye in our hook today. So this eye is a little bit smaller than the previous hook that we threaded through with the shackle over the last couple of streams. So we're going to have to be a little bit more careful about making sure that we leave the end thick enough, but also small enough that we can thread it through. I want to make sure that the eyes on both sides of the shackle are even so that I can thread that bolt through and it's not going to like jangle around and shake. But I also need the, before we punch those holes in, to be able to thread through that eye like a needle. So the last time what we did is we kind of created like a little barbell where that central area was a lot thinner than the two blocks of steel on the outside. Last time all we did was we took the corners off, and it was just doing that made the bar able to be threaded through that eye. This time I think we'll have to draw it down just a hair. And that might also mean that we will need to upset that barbell, like the block of steel, back in place so we can get that nice wide eye on both sides. But we will do our best, and we'll kind of figure it out as we go. I think that our next attempt at the shackle is going to be a little bit better than the last one. Every single new project, we learn a little bit more and a little bit more, and we use all of that knowledge to gain level ups, you know, to get better for the next project. So yeah. The people at Lowe's, when I went and got my bolts for the shackles, they were pretty confused because I wasn't there to buy propane this time. Normally when I go there, all I want is propane. So I bought my bolts and left, and they were kind of confused. They're like, no propane today? I'm like, not today. I still have a full propane tank from like 2 weeks ago. We've been making real good use of the mailbox recently. It's so much more efficient than the big one. We will be using the big one later on today when we start trying to bend the U shapes into our shackles. And because we only get one shot at it on each side to get it perfect with the mailbox. Otherwise, it just won't fit inside of the hole anymore. So we're just going to light up the big forge so that we've got plenty of space. We can even stick both of those shackles in there and work them at the same time if we need to. Hey, Blue Red Metal, welcome to the stream. Hello, hello. Now, I got to be super careful that we don't actually put these bolts in the forge with the shackle. And the reason for that is because these bolts are zinc coated, right? So your typical bolts that you get from the hardware store, you have the option of these nice shiny silvery looking ones, and those are just straight zinc coated. And then you also have the option of the galvanized bolts. Those are usually used for outdoor applications. Those are weatherproofed or more weatherproofed. Neither one is good to go into the forge without sanding off that coating. The zinc inside of galvanization and the zinc coating itself on these types of bolts is very noxious and toxic gas. Evening Sandwich, welcome to the stream. So we will take that bolt out of the shackle, and this is how it will end up in the forge when we get that far. Okay, let's do another heat. We're gonna flip this bar 90 degrees so we can get a little bit more draw distance. I need to move my place bucket so I'm not tripping over it every time I come over here. Now we got that nice crinkle fry section all the way through that middle. So for our next heat, we are going to focus in on the high areas. It's going to get us a faster drawdown. Okay, let's move this quench bucket so I'm not tripping over it. We'll move it over here. That way it's out of the way in two different areas. Yes, the press is working real good today. Super fast, super hard. And, or like the presses are like, it's like a lot of material is moving really quickly. And that is also because we are using the mailbox. I'm being patient. I'm talking to you guys and forgetting about my steel. And that is allowing more of that heat to soak up inside of the steel. And it is making it easier for the press to do its job. It would also make it easier for me to do my job if I was doing this hand forged. But like I said, I'm trying to save myself a little bit of stamina by using the press. If I was a more patient person, we'd get that all the time. But I am super not a patient person. So, yeah. The last 2 days have been kind of, ordinary. Overall, anyway. Yesterday, I finished up the video that came out on YouTube today. I came out here 3 times because of my lack of organization. So what I tend to do, somebody is pulling into my driveway to turn around. That's always pleasant. Anyway, so what I usually do is I write a whole script of stuff that I want to say in my YouTube videos. And normally what I used to do is I would get a transcript of all of the stand-up stuff that we talk to from the VOD. And I pick and choose the stuff that is important for the video to kind of explain what I'm up to. Well, lately I've kind of been just re-recording all of it using the close-up cam footage and then just recording my stand-ups so that I can gear them specifically for YouTube, kind of do some joking, some ad-lib stuff. And I think that it's turning out a little bit better, but I haven't really fully committed yet. And so I keep pulling stuff out of the VODs and then also recording. And normally it would be okay, but in this case, there was only one comment that I really pulled from the VOD. So I ended up coming out to re-record it because it sounded weird. When I'm doing the stand-ups out here, I never have the Forge on, so the background noise is not the same. So when I'm talking to you like this, you can always hear that tiny, tiny roar of the Forge going and like the press and stuff like that. So if I re-record everything but one comment, it's gonna sound weird. So I just re-recorded the comment. And then I realized that, you know what? I needed something else too. And I had forgotten to do that. So I ended up coming out here like 3 times yesterday just to like record stand-up. It was very inefficient. I need to like do a full script every time, I think. All right, we've got an ad break coming up in about 3.5 minutes. So I think we've got plenty of heat to do one more press round of presses before that ad starts. So let's do that real fast. Man, I feel like it is super duper early for the traffic to get backed up in front of my house like it is. But unfortunately, we've got like buses and stuff like stopping in front of my door. I mean, somebody is using my driveway as a turnaround. Alright, I think I'm going to actually turn this all the way around. Like so, just because we've got a little bit less material here than there. So I want to even that out a little bit. Thank you so much for those 7 bits. Yeah, good point. I've heard that a technique for solving that is also record some of the background audio so it can be mixed in later with re-recorded voices. Or the 1 bit, yes. Thank you so much for the 1 bit. But yeah, I have heard that, but it gets really confusing when I've got like, I've already got 3 tracks of audio, so then I'd have to add a 4th or a 5th track. A lot of times when I do a combination of both stand-up recording and recording from like the VODs, I end up with like 4 or 5 tracks because I always have a music track, and then I have the track for the close-up stuff, you know, like the anvil cam. And then I also have like what I'm talking about, you know. So as you guys can see, I activated stream elements. So that's really exciting. So anytime I get a follower or a subscriber, any bits or anything like that, it will now announce that. So I like to, you know, be proactive and call people out to thank them personally. But if I miss you, then the bot will thank you, and then I will see the bot there, and then I can thank you without missing you. I hope it works that way anyway. That's the goal. There's also a few extra commands in there. We have a drop, like the drop command for stream elements is going to be a drop command that like for the life of the stream. So like it's just never gonna reset. So then the one from Nightbot, we can reset that every day. So then we've got, you know, a daily count and a lifetime count for how many times I drop things. So I don't know, maybe that'll be fun, right? And then there's an 8-ball attached to it, so you guys can ask the magic 8-ball questions Oh, here comes the ad break. I knew that it was coming. I just didn't know when. It always surprises me. It gives me this timer and then it never does it like immediately after. It always like waits a random amount of time. It is crazy that we have already been here for 30 minutes. I don't know that I feel like that is right. Time's already flying. I think that time should slow down just a little bit. You know, I like hanging out with you guys. We're getting a good fast drawdown too. I'm pretty excited about that. We've only done 3 rounds of press, and we've already gotten a decent amount of growth. So that's really exciting. We will probably be doing, you know, another 5 or 6 on the press, and then we'll come over to the face of the anvil and kind of round stuff out, kind of even everything, make sure that we got nice parallel lines everywhere and kind of round things out, make them pretty. Man, what is going on? It's crazy. There are like the cars are like really backed up today. It's super early for that. It's like 2 p.m. My time. It's weird. Okay, let's do another heat. Set up a lemonade stand by the road. Captive audience, right? I'll bet you I could sell a lot of like ice cold lemonade or water, you know, soda, whatever, you know. That would be, you know, a thing. It's really warm today, so like I said, it's in the 70s, but like out in the sun, it's going to be a lot hotter. So you know, all of that sun beating down inside the windows, I'm imagining they're going to be warm. So I was trying to come up with a good title for today's stream. So we got the Bob the Builder quote on there. I don't know if I like the yet or check yes, check no thing though. Maybe I should have just gone with can we finish our shackle? Maybe, you know. I kind of feel like I should have just gone with yes we can, because even if we don't finish it, we will eventually finish it on Friday. This morning before dawn, it was 90s humidity here. Lots of dew everywhere. That is crazy. Yeah, like I said, it's in the 70s today. We had huge storms over the weekend. And so the storms cooled things down because Friday was in the 80s. And then, you know, we had these storms all day on Saturday and Sunday. And so then Monday, it was super cold. And I even had my sweatshirt on. So now I feel like we're starting to go higher again, and this weekend I think it's going to be a scorcher. Hot south wind gonna blow up another mess. I'm sure. I feel like this year particularly, but I mean last year too a little bit. We've been having these weather cycles where the Arctic wind is coming down and then that southern heat is coming up, and so you're getting these like, you know, cold air meets hot air storm brewing, and it's just been these violent storms that have just been causing so much damage. We've had last year we had tornadoes that crossed the river valley, which is like unheard of ordinarily. Like the Mississippi River Valley is like very low in comparison to its banks. Um, there's like enough space to have like a road with like businesses on either side in that river valley, and then there's usually like a giant hill. Well, a tornado came up in St. Louis and it crossed the river over to this place called Edwardsville, which is on the opposite side of that riverbank in Illinois. It was kind of crazy. Yeah, Iowa and Wisconsin are getting it this spring. We are too. We are too. I feel like a lot of it is centralized in Iowa and Wisconsin, but we're getting like the tail end of all of these streaks. I guess I'm just lucky that we haven't had any tornadoes yet this year, you know? Weather is crazy. All right, let's do another heat. I'll probably change the angle on the camera in a few, just so that we can get a little bit closer. You guys can kind of see what's going on a little bit better. So back when I first built my press, I was kind of in a place where I was just learning how to do fabrication and how to do blacksmithing. And so I wasn't amazingly good at measuring things and kind of engineering stuff. I kind of had like an inkling that I could do this because I had seen a picture of one on the internet, a press made from a Harbor Freight, I think it was actually like a 2-ton press. This one is a 4-ton. No, it's a 20-ton. And so when I built it, I did not build the plates that grab a hold of the dies evenly, right? So the top die is just a hair too far back than the bottom die. So when the jaws of the press meet, they're not meeting on top of each other. They're kind of offset a little bit. So as I'm pressing, a lot of times you'll see that the steel starts to bend downward as it goes through the press. So by turning the steel every heat, I kind of mitigate a little bit of that bending. But sometimes I still have to go towards I have to go over to the face of the anvil to kind of straighten things out. And ideally what I would do is disassemble it and fix it. But that's a lot of effort, and I'm a little bit afraid of the springs. They're super, super tight springs. More metal squishing. How are things going? Things are going pretty good. We've got the mailbox giving us like super amounts of heat, and so it's the press over there. It's like chewing through the steel. We're getting a lot of draw very quickly, and that's exactly what we want to see. We will probably pull it out and work a little bit on the horn of the anvil here shortly, just to kind of true things up, make sure everything is nice and straight and flat. But yeah, I do kind of regret the fact that I didn't really true up the dies. You can kind of see, if I were to move the camera onto like immediately over here, you kind of see that the jaws don't quite line up. It's kind of like this. And it would be a lot better and a lot easier if they lined up correctly, like so. Okay. I did say I was going to move my camera, but probably not to that side angle. We are probably going to move it a little bit closer, though, if I can manage it. Can I manage it? Maybe. Probably. Looks like. Okay. There we go. As I step over the cables. I have a cable that connects my capture card to my cameras, and so when I put them really close like that, a lot of times the cables are stretched a little bit high. But it gets you good shots. I think you might be able to see the camera, the close-up camera in the big camera right now. But I think that's okay. I think it's definitely worth it. If I say anything clever and amazing, I can either re-record it as a stand-up or I can punch in, because we record everything in 2K here. Okay, let's do another feat. So we are getting close to the point where we can continue working on, or we can start the next step of this process. So that's pretty exciting. Alright, so we are going to turn that 90 degrees. We're going to do one more time on this side, focusing in right along here. It's a little bit fatter on this side than this side, and then we'll probably go over to the anvil face to kind of finish that off. Pretty soon we're going to be threading this through. The press is so much fun. It's just like, it just chews up steel. And I mean, if I get it hot enough, even the really, really hard stuff like the A2 that we've used in so smoothly. A lot easier and a lot better than I can do by hand. Because, I mean, it's 20 tons of pressure on that steel. I can see a flame. I think it's my flame in the glass of the garage window. I keep getting distracted by that, unfortunately. Have you ever been tempted to crack some walnuts with the press? I haven't actually. I think mostly it's just because I don't eat a lot of nuts in general. Um, when I grew up, I ate so many nuts, like mixed bags of mixed nuts and cashews and almonds and stuff like that. We used to eat those all the time. But normally they were already cracked, and so it was just like the meat of the nut. And I don't know why. I think it's just because we buy jars of peanuts usually. So we don't eat a lot of nuts. I have also considered doing a secondary YouTube channel where I'm just crushing things with the press. I mean, there's a whole genre of YouTube videos where people are just crushing random stuff with presses. But I feel like that genre is a little bit saturated, so I don't know how well that my videos would play. I don't remember, but do you have different dies for the press? Yes, I do actually have different dies for the press, but I don't use a lot of them. Most of the time, I use the half and half dies, which are the half round and half flat dies. I have occasionally flipped the dies so they're backwards. Right now I have the half round with the half round and the flat with the flat. But I have on occasion kind of flipped those, specifically when I want something to remain flat, but also like kind of fuller it. But I have a few, yes, Ray's Crushy, right? But I do have a few different dies. Like, these are fullering dies. So they're like the half round dies, but they're a lot skinnier. These don't work very well because, like I said earlier, the little thing that the dies slide into, they don't quite meet very well. So it's really difficult to get these guys to get in there and like crush correctly. They're so thin. And then I have this die right here, which I never use for blacksmithing because it's not even designed for blacksmithing. But this is for making cuffs, right? So what you do, this is a top die. It sits like so. What you do, well, it's not screwed in right now. It's tapped, so it screws on there. But basically what you do is it sits as a top die, and then you press it directly into a piece of rubber, or like, well, I don't know, maybe the die is not happy. One of these guys, right? It's like a rubber thing. So you get a piece of like sterling silver or brass or copper, and you press it in there and it creates a cuff form. So that's another die that I have used in the past. And then I have some really flat dies that I also occasionally will use. That thin one would maybe work for cutting. Almost. I don't have like a sharp, like it. So if I were trying to do a cut on it, you'd almost need a little blade, right? It doesn't have to be like a really sharp blade, but those dies are a little bit too fat to get a good clean cut. Instead of the press, you could play Will It Forge games. That would be a fun one. You know, can I heat this up and hammer it, and will it deform? Will it crack? Will it shatter? Man, so that actually reminds me of a story. When I was a jeweler, I worked for Signet, which is a big conglomerate that owns Jared, Kay's, and Zales. They also own a few European jewelers at the same time, but I think under a different name. Anyway, so their corporate policy was we do not use cubic zirconium or moissanite. We could not work on either one of them. And so specifically, a lot of displayed like diamonds, you get your ring with your setting and then you buy your diamonds separately a lot of times, right? Well, the displayed diamonds that are in there are actually moissanites. And if you take a moissanite and you heat it up, it'll start glowing like a pinky orange color. And then you can set it on a piece of steel and hammer it one time and it will shatter. It doesn't like fly everywhere, but it just kind of crumbles. That's kind of what that reminds me of. It's kind of an interesting like thing to see. I would love to get a hold of a moissanite so I can show you guys. All right, let's do our last press here on the press, and then we're gonna go over to the anvil. And it looks like it's pretty even along the whole way. So we still have quite a bit of bumping and like that crinkle cut fry texture. So we are going to take that off over on the anvil itself by hand. I have a dapping block and some punches. It is next to form a dome with one of those pennies, and I have a shield on one side. Oh, it's neat to form on a dome with one of those pennies. I also have several different a dapping block, right? It's just a cube and it has a whole bunch of divots in it that I can cut things out and turn them into like little domes and things. I used it, the one at my college, I used to make little tiny teacups that I magneted to a brooch. And so I had a whole tea set that you could pin to your shirt. It was pretty cool. Back in college, I had some interesting ideas of jewelry. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should get a corporate account for Stuller or Rio Grande. Because so Stuller and Rio Grande are both jewelry supply websites. So that's how a lot of jewelers will get their stones, their settings, all of their tools, their metals, things like that. But they don't sell individuals like the gemstones. So you have to get a corporate account. But it would be really fun to do a series of shorts maybe on will it retain its color, right? Because a lot of gemstones, they don't take heat, right? So a diamond, it takes all the heat. You can heat it as much as you want when you're soldering things, when you're like tipping, you can leave the diamond in. It's not going to hurt it, not one bit, right? But opals, you will burn them. If you heat an opal up, it turns brown and starts cracking. It gets really brittle. Emeralds, they lose their color. So do peridots. So there's a lot of different like stones that they don't take heat. So in order to work with a piece of jewelry that has one of these more delicate stones as its setting, you either have to A, take it out of its setting, or B, you have to cool down the stone while you're soldering it. So there are special muds that will insulate the stone from heat, or you can use a wet paper towel. Sometimes people submerge those stones in water to keep them cool. But it might be interesting to do a whole series of shorts where we're just like deciding, or we're seeing, experimenting which stones take heat and which don't. Now, one of my favorite cheapo stones are sapphires. They are like you can get them for super cheap if you get them created. Less cheap if you get natural ones. They are relatively common though, so you can get some relatively cheap, smaller natural sapphires, but usually the created ones are like dirt cheap and they take so much heat. You can get white ones and they look like, they don't necessarily look like diamonds to the trained eye, but to the untrained eye, a lot of people think they're diamonds. The tea set does sound cool. I guess some gemstones are heated to enhance their color. Yes, some are heated to enhance their color. Depending on like I said, there are just stones that do different things when you do heat them. There are also stones out there that are like coated with other things. And so you have to be really careful that you know as a jeweler what you're working with so that you don't destroy your stone. I'm sure Kiri is very well aware of that as she is setting a whole bunch of stones for her jeweler's exams. All right, I'm changing the camera angle. There's also a lot of things that you need to learn about the cuts of gemstones. Certain areas of a gemstone are weaker in certain cuts. And you got to be real careful about that too. All right, so we got an ad starting in about a minute and a half, and that should be plenty of time for our piece of steel to get nice and hot. Like I said, we are going to spend a little bit of time here on the anvil, hand forging, making sure that everything is nice and flat, straight, and pretty. We also need to take those corners off. I want to make sure that we're not creating excess pressure and friction for the hook by leaving the corners on. So we'll get a nice smooth rotation with the rounded central area of this bar. But yeah, super amounts of fun playing with gemstones. And jewelry. I do enjoy jewelry. I think my favorite is probably white or yellow gold, like to play with as far as jewelry metals. I did get to work with a lot of pink gold, and that I was not a big fan of. I feel like they overcharge people for pink gold. The way you get that pink gold color is they add copper into that alloy. And so when you are soldering that pink gold, the gold melts at a different temperature than the copper does. And so if you are using a pink gold solder, you oftentimes end up with like a little bead of copper, just like pure copper on the outside of your solder. And so you have to like file that bead off, and it just doesn't alloy very well. So we have finally reached that second ad. So we're getting there. I think we're making some good time on our piece. Like I said, we're going to continue to stretch it out and make it nice and pretty. We're going to eventually thread the hook through. And then, you know, hopefully we'll be able to start bending that piece. We will have to do 2 drifted holes. So we'll see if I can get those done in a timely fashion. Sleepy for no reason, but not sleepy in a bad way. Sleepy in a maybe an afternoon nap might be nice. Put that over there. Alrighty. And I think we're back. Okay, so let's do our first heat here on the face of the anvil. So I've given us a pretty generalized view on this guy. I think we're probably going to spend a little bit of time on the horn though. I think we're a little bit too short still to be able to use just straight up the face of the anvil. Woo! Look at all that scale flying off. It got me in the lip. I hate it when it happens. Lip and eye, those are the worst. All right, more heat. Yummy. So yeah, we're getting a lot of scale that's moving around, or that's flying off of the piece. So I think that's probably because I have the forge up pretty high right now. We're getting a lot of heat very quickly. We've got a lot of oxygen in there, I think. We're doing all right, though. Usually that's the thing that I end up getting burned by the most in my shop is the scale flying off a piece of steel. That's where I got this guy from. I've gotten quite a few scars for it here and there, but I mean, it's kind of like hazards of the job, you know? That and like smashing my thumb with the hammer. So, I was talking about pink gold before the ad, wasn't I? So yeah, pink gold, it just doesn't quite alloy right. So, you know, you got that yellow gold color, and then you add copper to kind of like get that pink color. And a lot of times stores will want to charge you extra for pink gold, and it's like it's less pure than a yellow or a white gold would be. And the color of your gold is oftentimes it's different metals that are alloyed in there. Like white gold, there's a little bit of like silver, a little bit of platinum in there, and that's what makes that white color. Oh, and as you wear a piece of white gold jewelry, it will start to turn ever so slowly yellow. And part of that is because a white gold piece of jewelry that you find in the store. It is rhodium plated. Rhodium is a very pure, silvery, shiny metal, and you can plate over top of your white gold to kind of protect it, and it gives that nice shimmer. And so every time you have it cleaned, it gets re-rhodium plated. Has everyone ever, has any ever gotten inside my shoe? Usually it does not, right? And the reason why is because I specifically buy my pants so that they cover the tops of my boots, right? Because when I first started metalworking, my first time that I ever welded, a piece of just like the welding wire, it fell off of the gun and it went inside of my shoe and it kind of like started a fire, and it was not pleasant. And I feel like, you know, that should have colored my opinion of welding. And after I fell in love with it immediately. Even while I was, you know, my clothing was on fire, I was already in love with it. So yeah, it doesn't normally get inside my shoe. Occasionally it'll get inside a wrinkle of my clothes, and then I'll get like a little hole in clothes here and there, but I usually try and wear safety equipment, you know, hence the apron. I also have a full-on welding jacket that I could wear if I wanted to. So this is, you know, it's my welding jacket. It's really, really hot, so I typically don't wear it unless I'm doing a lot of welding. But yeah, you know, I can walk around like so, you know. And the butler has their very own welding jacket as well, because I set them on fire once and I don't like setting the butler on fire. At least not like that, you know. So what I hear is Ray just likes to play with fire. Ray does really like to play with fire. Ray is a little bit of a pyro. Let's do another heat here on the face of the anvil. So now we're going to turn this around and focus in on the other side. It's a little bit thicker, and we've gotten a pretty decent width right there. So I want to make sure that we keep this relatively parallel the whole way along, and we want to make sure that we keep these little blocks as even as possible. Even before I became a metal artist and was constantly using fire, I carried around a lighter with me everywhere I went. I had a cigarette case that had I think a butane lighter in it. And so I used that as my wallet because it was the perfect size for storing all, you know, your credit cards and like cash folded in half. And I used to just like walk around with the butane lighter, you know, lighting it for no reason. So I don't know. There's just something beautiful about the sight of fire, you know? Hey, Bluesy, welcome to the stream. I've never lit anything else on fire. Like, I'm not the bad sort of pyro. I tend to do creative things with my fire and not so much the destructive things. But, you know, occasionally accidents happen, right? But yeah. I have let fields on fire. Ooh, that could be devastating. Controlled burns. Okay. As long as they're controlled burns, right? Because, it's fine if you're, burning the brush out of your field so you can retill it and replant it. But less good when you accidentally set your field full of hay that has yet to be harvested on fire. That could be devastating. I think that is a leftover gene from the original fire making humans. I think so too. Fire is just so pretty. And I mean, when I was a kid, like when I was a really little kid, I was terrified of fire, right? And I don't know why. I don't know what changed to make fire friend as opposed to fire fear. But yeah, the first time I remember coming into contact with fire was one of my cousins was trying to hand me a sparkler on the 4th of July, and it was already lit, and like spraying, sparklery because, it's a sparkler. And I was terrified. I ran, I hid in a corner, and he just went, and I was like, ah, and I hated it. But, then I got older, and now I don't know what changed. Ooh, why does the forge have green flames? It probably has green flames because I don't know. It's had green flames since we used the crazy metal in it, and I don't know. There's some kind of weird contamination in it. I also have it really hot right now, so it could be that as well. Something like that. We're getting there. It's not quite as long as I need it to be, so we're just going to continue drawing it down and drawing it down. So I deliberately made the last shackle as long, like that central area, as long as the face of my anvil, so that I could bend it and have a complete shackle and still know how long I needed this shackle to be to make it identical. I imagine Ray has a pet flamethrower, right? Robot. I mean, not quite. I do have a flamethrower. It is a propane-powered brush burner, and the thing is amazing. I keep threatening the butler that I'm going to use it to melt the snow off the driveway instead of shoveling it. But I'm also terrified of like melting the blacktop or popping the sidewalk. So if you have a asphalt and you use that's how you kind of remelt it, right, with a brush burner. And then if you heat up a concrete, it'll start popping and shooting the rocks around. And I don't believe you. You'll just tell us another lie, right? Something like that. I like that one. Just a little small one. I don't know. You need to get an acetylene torch. It's hotter. Oxyacetylene. Yes. Whoops. I do need to get an oxyacetylene torch. I do have a rig. I just don't have a big enough oxygen bottle to power it. I have. It's right over there. Actually, I trip over it half the time when I'm going to like mess with the camera. I will just reseal the asphalt. Concrete might not like it though. Yeah, concrete definitely does not like the the brush burner. We used to use a brush burner like that, just like that, to heat up the ingot molds for casting. You have to be very careful about your ingot molds. If there's any like water or residual moisture in them and you pour molten metal, they'll shoot up in the air because that liquid, or that water vapor, will immediately vaporize and it just shoots up like a rocket. I think I did that a little bit better. We're getting real close. It's bending in a little bit of odd ways. I think it's all right. We'll be able to fix it. We just need to thin it out just a little bit more, just so that it is a hair bit longer. We're getting there though. Almost, not quite. Like dropping ice cubes into a deep fryer. Yeah, that's super dangerous. Don't do that, guys. Do not drop ice cubes into a fryer, a hot fryer. Don't you use the brush burner to preheat cast iron when you want to weld it? Yes, that as well. Because if you are welding iron, specifically cast iron, also rod. Like an anvil, if I was going to try and replace the plate on top of my anvil, you have to preheat both the plate and the iron, the wrought or cast. Otherwise, it will specifically because iron changes shape, like the crystalline structure, as it gets hot, right? So you want to make sure that you get even heat all along your weld. Otherwise, it will be very brittle around that weld. Drop a frozen turkey in a deep fryer. It's quite the spectacle. Yeah, that's a good way to go to the hospital. So one year I went to a Thanksgiving party. It was like a friend party. So there was like, everybody from the sculpture department in my college was all there. So there was like 30, 40 people all there. And they were frying things. They had one of those turkey fryers. And there was this ham. And it was just like a big ham. And we decided that we wanted to try frying the ham just to see what would happen. So we dropped it down into the turkey fryer without realizing that it was spiral cut. So the oil was spilling everywhere. We were able to kind of pull it out because we had created like a mechanism that would lower things in it from a distance, just so that wouldn't happen. But yeah, there was like oil spilling everywhere. I mean, we were able to safely get the ham, right? And it tasted like bacon, but definitely don't do that. That's super duper dangerous. Not worth the bacon flavor. Yes, more like the mort, right? Yeah. That it will melt the skin right off of you if you get hit by deep fryer oil. from a frozen turkey in the deep fryer. Okay, let's do another heat. We're going to flip this over one more time. We'll probably do one more heat where we are drawing that out, just focusing in on this section right there, that transition between that block and that central area. Then we're going to start working on taking the corners off and rounding out that center bit. That group of words cannot be put together. It's not possible. It's not worth the bacon flavor. I mean, I love bacon as much as the next person, but I'm sorry, I don't think it's worth getting my skin melted off of me. It's always worth the bacon. Don't try it. If you want to dry it safely, just take a slice of ham and fry that. You'll get the same flavor without that danger. One of my favorite things that my mom used to cook for me for lunch when I was a kid was fried bologna and grilled cheeses. You put the fried bologna in the grilled cheese. It was amazing. That and ham. So she would do it with bologna and with ham, and it was amazing. With the right sort of chain, shackles, and hook, it'll work. You're right. It will, Mahalo. But I don't want to be responsible for you know, whatever that happen, or you know, whatever happens with that. Bacon makes everything better, but still, it will only make it a little better. Yes. It was terrifying. I was scared, man. There was boiling oil, like, just flowing out of the top of the turkey fryer and just, like, flooding the driveway. Because we were doing it in the middle of the driveway. There was no buildings around, but, you know, the driveway, it's got a little bit of a slope. So, like, all of that oil was just, like, overflowing. And then going down the driveway, and it was hot, and it was still boiling, and it was scary. Super scary, guys. I like fried bologna sandwiches with spicy brown mustard. I use whole grain bread, so it makes it healthy, right? I'm pretty sure that makes it healthy. I'm pretty sure. That is an amazing sounding sandwich. Mmm. All right, that's about the right length for us. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time here getting rid of some of these corners. Yeah, we're going to end up bending it a little bit, but that's all right. I don't mind. We can correct that as we go. We're going to be getting a little bit more heat here in a moment. All right, let's do that. We're kind of turning it into like a little dog bone almost. Yesterday we went to Hardee's or Carl's Jr.'s, whichever, whatever it's called near you. I think it's probably only a US based restaurant. So for those of you who are in Europe, Canada, and like various other nations, you probably don't get to see them, but it's kind of like a McDonald's. But they have a hot ham and cheese. So basically, it's just a stack of ham, and they kind of like allow it to be all like foldy and stuff. So it's not just like, a budding ham or like pack it and they just slap it on there. It's a little bit nicer than that. And then they have this special white cheese. Oh, it's so good. That's what I had for dinner last night. They've got this prime rib burger, and that's what the butler had. It looked really good. But I still like their, hot ham and cheese. So it's looking like we've got another ad coming up in about 3 minutes. So I think we're still making some pretty good progress. We're into an hour and a half. We got about an hour left in the stream. I think we'll do all right. We probably won't finish it today, so we'll probably finish it back on, or like complete it on Friday, which makes sense. I mean, I tend to try and complete projects on Fridays just because then Monday we can start fresh. Oh, goodness gracious. I need to do some Google searching on how to put the chain back together and kind of how to work with the little rivets. Let's do another heat right before that ad break starts. I should have plenty of time, and I'm going to change the angle of the camera while the ad is going on. That way we get a little bit of variety. Less than we normally get, but you know what? It's all right. I think we're going to bring the camera over to the horn. That way we can kind of shore this up. It's starting to twist a little bit, and we don't really want it to look like it's twisting, even if it is. I like the Carl's Jr. orange cream shakes. I don't know if they still offer them on the menu. I don't know. They do have like special like ice cream, and it's like scoop ice cream, which is like a little bit better than the ice cream machines that like Burger King and McDonald's have. But I don't know if they have the orange ones anymore. Orange Dreamsicle. That was kind of a thing at restaurants for a while, is orange dreamsicle food here in the United States. Kind of weird. Alrighty. Goodness gracious. Now I guess we're just waiting on the ad, to be done so that we can do our next heat. We are going to be working on the horn, kind of working on making sure that transition between the block that we're going to turn into the shackle section and the D shape is smooth and nice and pretty. When you thread the hook on, or when will you thread the hook onto the shackle piece? Once we've got a nice rounded central section, we will be threading, or we'll start working on trying to thread the hook through. So once we finish this step, it's the next step that we're going through. I just need to make sure that that central area is nice and pretty. Because once we thread this hook on, we can't take it off anymore. So it's stuck on there. So I want to, if I'm going to make this pretty, I got to make it pretty before I thread this on. All right, while this ad is up, I'm going to grab another liquid. So I shall be right back. You know what? I should just bring this with me. Because it's empty and I'm just going to bring it in the house anyway. Okay. I think people were probably just like back to work from lunch. Maybe that's what was happening. Doesn't seem like there's anybody in front of the house anymore. Grape juice. Yummy. Okay. All right, so we are back. Yeah, so I am going to be, right now I'm trying to smooth out that central D section, right? So if we take a look at the shackle that we previously made, I can't pull off the hook once I get it on there. So if I want this to be pretty and smooth and like, you know, nice, I have to do that before I thread on the hook. So once we get that nice and smooth and I'm happy with it, then we'll start working on threading the hook on. So we will be getting to that process today, but I don't know that we'll get much of the... Wait a minute, is that imposter Gatorade? It kind of is. So yeah, it's kind of, I don't know how far we'll get into drifting those holes out on either side, but we will definitely get the hook on there. But yes, we're going with Welch's grape juice today as opposed to Gatorade. I did have some Gatorade in there. I don't know why. I just felt like the grape juice instead. It's a bit more flavorful. Okay, let's do this. But yes, it is definitely an imposter. I am playing the traitor. And we're going to want to turn it backwards so that we can work on the opposite side as well. Got a little bit of heat left, so we'll probably do a little bit of work here. Woo! Scale. All right, let's heat it up again. All right. So for those of you who aren't on my Discord but are interested in the refrigerator experiment, I continued allowing the fridge to kind of freeze things. And so by the time 6:30 rolled around my time, we end stream at 4:30 my stream. So 2 hours after the stream ended, that bottle of water was completely frozen. And so that was super exciting. That means that while it's a little bit on the slow side, it will freeze things and keep things frozen. So it's going to do exactly what we need it to do. I'm super excited about that. And then um, I did turn it off so that I could see how well the insulation was, right? Part of the reason I'm kind of interested is if I were to fill it with ice and, you know, just keep things in ice and use it as just a regular cooler, how well is it going to insulate that? So at about 7:30 my time, which is, you know, an hour and a half later, it was about half unfrozen. So less good than I want, but I mean, it was empty except for that bottle of water. I'm sure if I had more ice in it, it would have worked fine. Kept things nice and frozen. So yeah, I'm super excited to put it to use. We're gonna put a couple of micro meals in there, and then we're gonna be able to eat some nice food while we are at BAM. Okay. All right. So we're trying to get rid of as many of these facets as we possibly can, kind of make it as round as possible, and it looks pretty darn round. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to decide which direction we're going to drop it. Now we're going to decide which side of these that we want to kind of crush down. There's a little bit more material over here, so I think it'll probably give us a little bit better results if we crush that down just a little bit, like, you know, get rid of all of the corners and kind of see about threading the hook onto this side. So I think that's what we're going to do. We've got the corners we got to take off, and maybe make it a little bit smaller. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, doke. So I'm going to move the camera again so that we're a little bit closer. And we can take a look at that central area of the face of the anvil, because that's where we're going to be spending most of our time for the next couple of heats, and I want to make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. Should be good like that. Maybe we'll go up just a hair. There we go. There we will be. Okay, can you see it in the camera? I can a little bit, but I think it's definitely worth it. I think it's worth it. So yesterday, the butler and I had spent a little bit of time working on trying to get, like earlier I said that we put the inverter in so that we could recharge the battery pack in the van. Well, the next thing that we're trying to do is put a swivel seat on. So we used to have a bulkhead that separated the cab from the area that is the delivery part of the delivery van. And so we took out the central panel. It used to be 3 panels, so that we could have a nice pass through. Well, we took out the panel that was behind the passenger seat so that we can put on a swivel seat. So we turn the passenger seat from being, facing forward to being able to face into the, the camper part. And all of the bolts were just fine. We got them. We got a ratchet to fit, and we took them all off. We saved them all. It was great, right? Except for the last bolt. I don't know why they did it, but they put the last bolt in. It was one of those round-headed bolts, but it didn't have the square area. So as we were trying to get it off, the head of the bolt just kept rotating with it. I have swivel seats in a few of my tractors. Yeah, they're really convenient. I like them a lot. But yeah, this particular last bolt, when we were trying to get the bulkhead out, it didn't have, like, you got your wrench and your ratchet, and you can kind of hold the bolt steady while you ratchet the nut off. It didn't work that way. It was one of those round-headed ones. So it kept rotating, and it was a pain in the butt. Depends a bit on what you're trying to do. I mean, I imagine that your tractors, a lot of time, it makes it easier for you to get in and out of them, right? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right, let's do another heat. We got that new view. New view. So yeah, instead of using the ratchet, I had to use the angle grinder. All right. So we have taken the corners off of there. So we're going to see what it looks like now. All right. So we're not going to go all the way through yet. So we need to close that a little bit further, make it a little bit smaller. I only want it to be small enough that this goes through because I want to retain as much of this block as possible. Time to cut the slot in a bolt ahead and use a bigger screwdriver. We tried that and it didn't work right. So I just used the angle grinder to cut the bolt off from the back end. No, it's mostly for when I am loading grain or when I'm using a digger attachment and an auto steer. There's an auto steer feature on tractors these days. That's crazy. Also, I imagine it would be convenient if you were a lone farmer, because you've got stuff you got to do, and then if you don't have anybody to load your stuff and drive your tractor at the same time, then the tractor gets to drive itself. The tractor drives itself. That's like self-driving cars. They've got those new self-driving cars. I'm honestly kind of afraid of them. I think I'd be less afraid if all the cars on the road were self-driving. But anytime there's one human behind the wheel, it just bugs the whole system up. Well, I have GPS and I just set out A, B lines and on all my fields. See, that makes sense. It's like a Roomba or like one of those lawn mowing things. You set the parameters and it just does it for you in the little round circle. Yeah, harvesters have GPS auto steering. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. All right, let's do another heat. But yeah, I'm kind of afraid of the auto-driving cars, self-driving autonomous vehicles. At least until we have an entire system where there's only those on the road. Kind of looks like a flower bud if you ask me. I'm there. All right, how well are we doing now? We are almost there. A little bit. Getting close. I think we need to focus right in there. It's just a little bit too wide in that direction. And then we'll be able to get it right over. The company I work for makes auto steer products for farm equipment. Does it? That's crazy. Not just harvesters. I would imagine, all the different vehicles, farming implements anyway. The flying car thing gets me nervous. I look at the carnage when people have to deal with 2 dimensions. Imagine the 3rd dimension. See, I think it would be all right as long as you've got really good air traffic controllers, right? But there are not really good air traffic controllers everywhere in the world. It is expensive, but it's such a great system. I can imagine how convenient it would be. So yeah, we're getting really close to being able to thread the hook through our shackle. Once we do that, then we can start flattening those back out into the shapes that we're going to need so that we can start drifting in those holes on either side. We're getting real close, but I think it's going to take us a whole other stream to do this. I've been talking a lot today. The teachers say, focus, don't talk in class. That's not a me thing. I love talking to you guys. All right, let's do another heat. Fingers crossed we can get this guy on there right now. Or not right now, but like in this heat. We might have to do a little bit of upsetting in order to get it to work. Close, but not quite. So close, guys. So close. What if I do this direction? Is it going to be any better this direction? Nope. It's going to take us at least one more heat. Whoops. I did not mean to drop that on the ground. This is the worst part of the whole process, is like trying to get it, because I'm going a lot slower than I would normally go, because I want to maintain as much girth and width on that end as possible. I don't really want to have to upset it back if I don't have to. Hoggin698, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the stream. We got lots of fire going on here, yeah. So what we are doing is we are creating a shackle and hook system. Hello. So this is the first one that we did. We're not finished with this shackle. I gotta kind of fix it. It's a little bit off kilter. But this is kind of what we're looking at making right now. So right now we have this lovely hook right here, and we're trying to thread it on to the large shackle. And we want to retain, as we've got 2 blocks on either end of the shackle, and we want to maintain as much material on either end as possible so that we can get those lovely round eyes on there. Because in the end, we have lovely bolts that are going to go through the holes, right? These are going to be on either end of a chain. So we got 2 chains that are going to hook onto, or 2 ends of a chain that are going to hook onto these guys. So that's what we're making today. That's what we're making today. Alrighty, let's see if we can successfully thread it on this time. I feel like it's starting to look like a flower bud, guys. Oh, we're partially there. Let's see if we can't get this off of here without burning it on. Overheating it. He's stuck. All right, let's try it again. One more time. Woo! Is it almost there? Is it there? Oh, look at that. Hex, yes. Super exciting. It's exactly what we want to see. All right. Now we're going to heat up that side and upset it back. So, because we had to thin that out so much, we've got a really long block of steel. So we're going to hammer that back in by upsetting it. So we're going to come over here to our post vise. We're going to lock it in there, and then we're going to hammer directly on it. It's going to smush it. She set the hook. It's a whopper. Yeah, it's a whopper. Drops. I'm going to be like fishing for tools here in a second. Right. Let's see about setting the camera. Onto the post vise. Ah. As I'm dropping things everywhere. We'll put that over there. And then these guys as well. This can probably sit over there because that's probably the next place it's going to be. And then that one can go back in there. What happened? I don't know what happened. We were using one of my hammers yesterday for the the bulkhead, and it didn't get put away. There's a spot in my hammer rack there's a gap, and I don't like it. Okay, so like I said, we're kind of going to capture the piece into the post vise. We're going to use the edges of the post vise to kind of back it so that we can flatten the shackle right back down. We're not going to go all the way down. We're just going to flatten it so it's a little bit shorter, a little bit fatter. Let's see if we can do this, guys. See if we can do this. I'm going to open this up a little bit. That way it'll make it easier for me to waste less heat. Whoops. All right. So let's see where we're at from here. We've kind of got a mushroom going in there, and we've got some like little eyes that, or not eyes, but like little shoulders that have formed. We can definitely heat that back up and kind of shove that back in, make it a little bit nicer looking. But I think we'll be all right, especially if we hammer it from this side. Or we put in the circles from that side. The eyes, I think. Okay. Starting to get a little bit on the tired side, which is about typical for me. We're at the 2-hour mark, so we got another ad brewing. So that process was called upsetting. We were hammering the material back in on itself. And that is a different process from forging. All right, we're doing good. Making good progress. I think we're gonna probably end up starting to punch the holes in, or I guess drip the holes in on Friday. So we'll do 2 holes Friday, and then we will also do the bends and corrections on both of the shackles. So we will be done on Friday, I promise. So you've got an ad starting in about a minute and a half. Once that ad is done, we'll do our next heat. Next heat. Thirsty. It's warm. It's getting super warm. I think I'm going to open the garage door. It's going to get a little bit brighter in here. I hope I don't blow out my face with all of the light. But it looks like it's actually starting to get a little bit darker outside. So I think that we probably won't get much extra light. So, yeah. Now we've got extra cross draft. I got an open window over there. I got an open door over there. And now I have an open garage door over there. Oh, I opened it right as the mail person was here. Speaking of mail, I did not check the mailbox today. I needed to do that. I will make sure that I make a stop. I've never done any smithing. Always wanted to try it. It is so much fun. My main recommendation for anyone who is wanting to start blacksmithing is find a blacksmith to study under. There is a National Blacksmithing Association. It's called ABANA, ABANA, and they have a find a blacksmith, and I will talk a little bit more about that once the ad break is over. I am hunching over like a shrimpy. Maybe I don't need a channel point redemption for hydrate, but I think I might need to for posture check, you know? I feel like I'm constantly like just scrunching. Maybe I should just add that, you know? It's usually, it's one of the default ones in the Twitch interface. That's what I'll do. You guys can redeem posture check. I still need to make sure that I get the year-and-a-half subscriber badge made. Probably also a 2-year subscriber badge. I got a lot of stuff I need to do. I always forget when I have time to do it, though. All right, so now that the ad is over, I'm going to talk a little bit about ABANA, which is the Artist Blacksmith Association of North America. They are, their website is abana.org. So if you go to that website, they have a Find a Blacksmith and a Find Affiliate link. So you click on the link and then you put in your postal code, right? Zip code here in the United States, but I think they're postal codes around the rest of the world. And ABANA does cover a little bit of the rest of the world with their Find a Blacksmith feature. Yes, Mahalo's got you right there. So when you put your postal code in, it'll tell you the closest blacksmith or closest affiliate. And my recommendation is if you find an affiliate that is close to you, go to that affiliate's website and go to one of their hammer-ins. Go check it out. Blacksmiths are some of the kindest, most generous people I've ever met. If you show up, they will put you to work. They'll put a hammer in your hand and they'll get you started. So yes, join a blacksmith association near you. No blacksmiths left in the UK, I think. Really? Really? Alex Steele is in the UK. He was in Montana, but he moved back to the UK. I'm not entirely sure exactly where he is, but I mean, the UK is a really large place, so there might not be any specific UK blacksmiths near you, but there are actually blacksmiths all over the place. The BABA is the British Blacksmith Association that covers all of Great Britain. You could probably check their website. There are a lot of blacksmiths around. They're just kind of hiding. They're not very good at the internet. How many metalworking streamers do you know of? Streamers specifically, there's probably like 4 or 5 of us. I think I'm probably one of the more consistent ones, but there's Tim the Blacksmith. There is, or on Twitch anyway. John Brunel streams on YouTube. We've got, there's a lot of them. And they're not coming to me right now, but there's a lot of them out there. Yes, PSK Knives. Yep. Okay, let's do another heat. But there are a lot of us out there. I'm kind of trying to tuck in some of that extra material that's kind of sticking out in weird directions. And next, we're gonna start flattening this out. This is going to create the material that we're going to use for our shekel. All right, we're doing pretty good there. Okay, we are now at a point where the hook isn't gonna fall off anymore. Look at that. Not gonna come off. So we've got nice material. So what we're gonna do is we are going to use our drift, and we're gonna drift a hole in there like so. We're gonna open that up. It's gonna be real nice. So I'll probably do a couple of heats for the drift, but we're definitely not gonna finish it. Here on Twitch, I see Jack Frost, Heavy Hands Forge, and Lost Viking Metalworks. Found you a while ago, but I'm usually sleeping when you're live. Yeah, I'm here. I usually stream during the afternoon in Central US time. So I know that I'm a little bit, awkward as far as when I stream, but I do keep all of my VODs. I upload them to YouTube. So if you can't find me here live, you can always watch my VODs and my edited content over on my YouTube channel. It's Ray's Smithy. So my handle on YouTube is the same as here. And I produce 5 shorts a week, 1 edited piece, and then I stream 3 days a week. My VODs go up on YouTube the day after they go live here. So I get a stream out on YouTube on Tuesday, on Thursday, and then on Monday. So because they're business days, not day days. What is the anvil made of? This particular anvil is made of wrought iron, and it has a tool steel face over half of it. It should have a tool steel face over the full top, but this particular face has broken off. So this is the tool steel face on this side, and this is just the straight wrought on this side. Wrought iron. There are other anvils that you can get a hold of that are just straight tool steel. Back in the 80s and 90s, Harbor Freight, which is a discount tool store, used to do a drop forged anvil with of tool steel. It's actually pretty decent as an anvil. You can still find them occasionally secondhand. But yeah, there's a lot of them out there. Some of the newer ones. There used to be an anvil manufacturer that used to sell new ones, and they were I don't know why I can't remember their name, guys. Let me see if I can't pull it out of the spider webs. Kira Natura is another blacksmith. Yes, it's like an anvil, but I wouldn't have much use for it. Or I'd like an anvil, and I wouldn't. Yes, Holland anvil. Thank you so much, Corwin. You're great. I can always count on you guys to be my brain and remind me of what I'm trying to say. But yes, Holland Anvil. They actually they closed shop last winter, and unfortunately, They are out of stock now, but you can still find their anvils used in different locations. I will be going to the BAM conference, which is the Blacksmith Association of Missouri. Not this weekend, but next weekend, and they are actually giving away 3 Holland Anvil Swage blocks, and I'm excited. I'm going to put my name in for those. Hopefully I get one. I doubt it, but you never know, right? Never hurts to try. That a Peter Wright? I have one that looks the same. This is not a Peter Wright. This is actually a hay button. Right? I think the stamp is on this side towards me because I let my anvil on my horn on the right hand side. But yeah, there is a stamp right here. It says hay button on it. So this is a hay button anvil. Lift up the anvil so we can see it. Like so. Now I gotta get it back in its little slotty. Oh, come on. There it goes. Yes, I can lift it. Okay, let's do our next heat. Look what you've done now. Yeah, look what I've done now. That was probably a bad idea on my part. I'll probably regret that tomorrow. Okay. I think we're pretty good on that. What we're going to do now is we are going to grab our drift. We'll put this like so. I don't know that you guys can see that, unfortunately. Okay. So put that there. This first heat on a drift always is really super slow. I gotta pick it up and make sure that it's not sliding around every time. Whoops, I'm dropping everything now. I guess that answers the question, do you even lift? I used to lift this and carry it all over the place. I don't do it a lot nowadays because it does take a lot of stamina and I am disabled. So if I could lift it, I can carry it wherever I need to go, but it takes a lot out of me and I get really tired after it. Yeah, I did. I lost the heat real fast. Her favorite trick is dropping it on coyotes. Yeah, right? So yeah, this anvil weighs as much as I do. If that gives you some context, it weighs about 127 pounds, and I weigh about 125. So the 127 pounds is including the plate that's broken off of here, so it probably does weigh about 125 pounds, just like I do. So yes, it took some effort to be able to lift it and to, gain those muscles, but they're there. Also, notice I lifted across my arms and I squatted, right? Lift with your legs, not your back. All right, I'm out of liquid again. Dang it. But that's all right. We are almost done with the stream. So, okay, let's do our next heat. We'll probably do maybe 2 more heats. Alright, is that the side or is that the side? Oh, that's awful, right? It's this side. This side, this side. And we're gonna grab some more heat just because we can. And it'll make it a lot easier for us. You can definitely see that that drift is going in there real nice. Real nice. We'll probably do one more just to get a little bit more area. Root, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Welcome, welcome. I love it, Stream Elements. It just showed me that, you know, it's a brand new buy on the channel today. So it made it a lot easier for me to, like, you know, realize what was going on. So thank you so much for that follow. Welcome, welcome. Oh, goodness gracious. See, I'm already regretting lifting up the anvil. So I have a chronic illness, and so it makes it a little bit difficult for me some days to breathe while I'm doing this. So I've maintained the ability to forge for short periods of time, like 3 hours-ish. But it kind of all falls apart when I'm lifting heavy things. I still have the muscles. It just makes me super, super tired when I lift things. Awesome shop, thanks. You're only seeing about, I don't know, probably a quarter of it right now. So I actually have 3 shops. So this is about half of my main shop. It is a single car garage. So we've got the press, we've got the anvil, 2 forges, you know, we got the post vise, all the lovelies. There's a welder over there and a kiln. Behind you, I have all my cutting equipment. I've got my welding table, stuff like that. Inside here is all my grinding stuff. This is probably a 15 by 15 shed that got converted into more of my shop. And then I also have a jeweler shop in my basement. So I have a big shop. I'm kind of taking over my entire house. One of these days, I'm going to have like pieces of equipment everywhere in the house. It's not my fault though. It's not my fault. My partner, who we call the butler, is the one that allowed me to do that. Originally, my jewelry stuff was in there, but it gets really cold in the winter, and I can't work out here once it gets too far below 0. So bringing that shop in the house makes it possible for me to stream all year long. Oops. I'm gonna drop everything. That's the whole point of this project, right? The shackles and the hooks that we are making is so that I can turn it into a hold down. So there are different types of hold downs. There's like ones like these. This it lives in the Pritchell hole and it holds things down, but my broken plate has a little bit of problems with smaller stuff, right? It doesn't fit right. So this chain, we're going to have an eye that goes into the anvil, like the stump that it sits on. And then the chain goes over top of it, and the other side of the chain holds weights to hold everything down. So once this project ends, maybe it'll be a little bit easier to hold things on the anvil. IRA was in the logistics business. I could be drop shipping. Or it would be drop shipping. Probably. Drop shipping everything. Whoops, I want to this way. Okay. I guess we can do that too. We can do that too. Let's turn this over. I'll put those over there. There we go. Okay. And I gotta fix my drift. It's starting to like curve a little bit. So that's probably all she wrote for the day. Because we're starting to get pretty late and I want to make sure that I can actually breathe tomorrow. So I think we're going to raid off. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Welcome in those of you who are brand new to the stream. Thank you so much for joining me. I had so much fun with you guys. So thank you. And yeah, bye. I think we're going to raid off though, but I'm not entirely sure who we're going to raid to, but we're going to swap to my outro screen. Yeah. Thank you guys. All right, who do we got? Twitch. Which of our friends is streaming today? I think we're gonna go with Yarnia. I think that was who we went with last time, and I think that was pretty good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've had a blast. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you guys on Friday. Bye.